Ooh, fresh pavement. Let's do a 0 to 60.
Hello, this is Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're doing our shaky cam interior review in a Mitsubishi Outlander. This is a 2018 model. This is the SEL, and it is the full size, not the Outlander Sport. The Outlander Sport does not have a third row and is slightly smaller. So there's the big difference. But anyway, the Outlander is always a surprise because it doesn't seem like much. It doesn't seem like it sells much. It doesn't seem, there's a lot of things that just don't seem to put it on the radar when you're an automotive journalist. And then you get one and you realize that it checks all the boxes for the segment. It may not be the prettiest or the fastest or whatever, but it's a excellent vehicle. Surprisingly so because of those reasons. And also, this week we had a lot of weather while I had this, and the snow mode in here with the all-wheel control is phenomenal. I would not compare it to Jeep, although if you have driven a Wrangler in the snow, you know that that is probably the worst vehicle to have out there, outside of perhaps a rear-wheel drive sports car. But regardless, this is one of the best crossovers when it comes to that kind of all-wheel control. Just the being out in the weather with it, it's just amazing. So let's get started. The lighting isn't optimal. The sun has really kind of come up and gotten in my way, and I don't have an easy way to move this because the window has not yet defrosted. It's pretty cold out there today. We had a very low overnight. It is wintertime and it is Wyoming. So, getting to it. I don't know that I've done one of these in quite a while, so I'll go over everything on the interior here. So you see, this package has the faux wood and a few other things. Here you see the windows, mirrors, etc. Controls are pretty straightforward there. Down here, this is your collision. It does not turn it off. It changes the sensitivity. So you can basically say, I want it to be further away or closer before you start doing your thing. I do note that this Mitsubishi was smart enough to turn off those collision controls when you put the car in neutral. So if you go through an automated car wash, you don't have to worry about that interfering. This is the lane departure warning. Generally, I've just been turning it off because all it does is beep, and it's kind of annoying. Empty buttons there, and the rear hatch opens right there. So you push that and hold it, and you'll hear the beep, and it's done. Up here is a menu control. You can use that in tandem with the steering wheel mounted control. I'll show you that in a minute. It's right here on the edge of the screen. So you can basically say, I want to do the driver's information display right there, and then you can use this to control it. Otherwise, this is controlling infotainment. Over here you have your traction control and dimmers. Well, lighting. How's that? Lighting. Up here you have your actual lighting controls, so blinkers and whatnot, and your headlights and so forth. You can see I have them on auto. This controls the fog lamps. I'm having a hard time. It's the cold. I'm just going to blame it on the cold. My brain's not working well because of the cold. Over here, infotainment controls. This turns on your cameras. This has the 360 camera view. The rear view camera is standard. 360 is an option. Over here is your telematics. Over here is cruise control. This is equipped with adaptive cruise. Standard cruise is standard, and adaptive is an option upgrade. And so you basically, this just controls your distance. Otherwise, the cruise control works the way you would assume it would. In the washer wipers, etc. So up and down for the front, control it here, and rear here. You can also see this has auto mode. This controls the speed of that auto mode right there, and turns it off if you go all the way down. Now, instruments. So tachometer on the left, speedometer on the right, information screen in the middle. So you can see the lane departure warning is on right now. That's the default, actually. You have to turn it off every time you drive. Bit of an annoyance. Over here is the driving mode. I'll show you how to change that. It's right by the shifter. But you basically have 4 driving modes in this car. So when you push that button, you lock jump through these. So all-wheel control, because it's Mitsubishi, so they call it all-wheel control. Your all-wheel drive eco mode is to maximize fuel economy. Normal mode, which is what I've been driving in when the weather's good, is right there. Snow mode there, and locking the differentials there. So I've left it out of the eco mode because it weakens things very much. It's not fun to drive. It removes all the good stuff so that you take forever to get anywhere, to speed up and all that stuff. It's really reluctant to boost the RPMs. We would call it downshifting, but it's a CVT, so it's just reluctant to boost RPMs and stuff. Not enjoyable at all. I didn't like it. I turned it off. Down here you see engine heat, fuel, and so forth. This part right here changes regularly with that menu key over there. I like to look at my fuel economy, but you can look at other things, trip information, and so forth. So that's pretty much the instrument cluster. Going this direction, infotainment screen, fairly easy to use. This is basically the main menu. This is where your apps are. So when you hit home, you end up here. Nicely done. I like the way it operates. It's fairly simple. It is not for audio technophiles. If you're really into, if you really got to have that connectivity with all kinds of app options on your screen, Mitsubishi probably isn't where you want to go. But for most everyday people like me, this has everything you could possibly ask for. It's Rockford Fosgate. That's the upgrade for the stereo itself. Beautiful stereo system. Adds a big woofer in the back. Takes away one of your milk jug holders back there to do that. Totally worth it. Power button there. Fast buttons over here. They're pretty straightforward. I don't think any of these are complicated. Got some glare. Sorry about that. Airbags are letting you know here. Here's your Duke's lights. Here's your eco button, which can quickly jump you to eco mode without having to use that. I'll just point at it instead of moving the camera around and making you sick. Using that drive control thing. Here's your, geez. Really kind of lost it there, didn't I? Anyway, here's your climate controls. Again, pretty straightforward. I've turned everything off so that we're not making a lot of noise while I'm doing this, but everything's pretty right there in front of you. You auto set the temperature. It is dual climate, and you can quickly hit like defrost and so forth, which is what I was doing before, and it's still working, which is kind of amazing, probably because the sun's out. Down here you have a few things. Over here is your faux cigarette lighter, now just a 12-volt plug. That turns the hatch on and off, so you can turn off the electric hatch. So say you park in a garage that's too low for it to open well or whatever, you can shut it off there. And over here, this is sort of a storage spot. Your key fob actually fits in there almost perfectly. The old style key fob fits in there. The new one still fits in there, but not the same way. It's not as cool. Down on the bottom, you see steering wheel heat is on because it is friggin' cold, and I had to turn off the climate in here. And when my fingers start to hurt, I use that. Also, you see the blind spot management toggle. Why it's down there and not over next to the steering wheel with the rest of those things, I have no idea. But, So anyway, here's the bourgeois cover, nice and shiny and glittery. This is the drink holders in here. Here's your shifter. You can see the drive mode has a DS, that's sport mode. If you really, really want to get up and go to pass somebody, you can push this over. So let me go into drive. You can just shove this over. It forces the transmission up to about 2,000, maybe 2,200 RPM, and keeps it there. Won't go any lower. That's awesome if you need to pass. But honestly, the complaints that I had in the past of the Mitsubishi, of this Outlander and the Outlander Sport being sluggish on the pass and stuff, those have pretty much been taken care of already. You don't really need to use that trick anymore. Good news, and thank you, Mitsubishi. Over here you have your parking brake, hill hold. This is the button that changes drive modes, and here's this bun warmers for the seats. Center console, This is kind of the faux leather. Very well done. I really like this. Feels good. Mitsubishi knows how to make a comfortable seat. Like I said, Mitsubishi's very, very good at the basics. And that says a lot, because a lot of car companies, they make really pretty cars, they make really great cars, but once you're in them, they're not necessarily as comfortable as you would hope, or as nicely done on just the fundamentals. Storage in here is awesome. There's tons of room in the door pockets. There's these drink holders. There's little spaces, you know, the glove box is huge. There's extra plugs in the back. Just nicely done. They really kind of cover the bases with the Mitsubishi. There are a few things lacking, but they aren't terrible things. They're small things. So over here we have the rear seating, and behind that is a third row that I have folded down. Just a very ergonomic and useful car. There are better vehicles on the market. I won't deny that. And there's a reason that Mitsubishi probably isn't the best seller it could be. Some of that is just eyeball appeal. They just don't look as pretty. But regardless, this is by far one of the best mid-size three-row crossovers you can buy. And for the price especially, it's much cheaper than many of the competitors with roughly the same setup. Now, knowing that, I would also point out that Mitsubishi does not sell well in the US and is struggling. So whether or not that affects your buying decision is up to you. It affected a lot of people's decisions with Suzuki before they went out the door. But Mitsubishi now has Nissan backing them up. So perhaps that's all going to change. We'll see. Anyway, this has been the 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander. This has been Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and I'll talk to you again soon.